Olá, I am Clarice Cataldi, and today I would like to talk about what is called the disease of the century. Just in the United States, it's estimated that 10 millions of people has fibromyalgia. Yeah, this disease is very social complication because it's basically on pain, muscle pain, and the pain in the joints, also fatigue and the problems to sleep. It's very hard. There is around 120 different symptoms like mental confusion, cognitive problems, and depressions. It's really that kind of illness that making you have a dysfunction in your everyday life. It's very hard for who has these kind of problems to have normal life, works normally and have a normal life. It's very missing in understanding how it's always involved about some depression, or that it can be a psychological illness, but or mental illness, but the truth is that it's considered the hematological illness. And today I came exactly to tell you if you have fibromyalgia, or if you have someone that has fibromyalgia in your family and in your friendship network, that your doctor didn't tell you what caused fibromyalgia. And that's what I'm now in the point to tell you. Usually fibromyalgia, as others autoimmune disease, they are started from allergic foods. Yeah. One of those allergic foods that leads fibromyalgia as other problems is the gluten. Gluten by itself is cause more than 55 different diseases and more than 200 symptoms, and one of them is the fibromyalgia. So one of the symptoms that you have when you have intolerance to gluten, because I'm not talking about celiac disease, because you can be negative of celiac, but still you can have gluten intolerance or sensitivity. I realized I am not celiac, but I realized that I am gluten intolerant. By the way, I was diagnosed with fibromyalgia 13 years ago, and I have been struggling with this condition for all those 13 years, and just now I realized what could be the problem that I developed, different autoimmune disease, because I have also lupus, multiple sclerosis, and other diseases that, like psoriasis, that is coming from this autoimmune depressive system. Well, gluten is almost everything that we eat. I mean, our diet actually is over gluten. We eat gluten all the time. It's almost impossible when you want to eat outside that you find something that is gluten-free, because almost all processed food, there is kind of gluten in the composition. So I guess we are in our age, we are living more problems about this gluten intolerance because of this over gluten diet. Well, another thing is about your stomach. Since you have eaten foods that properly doesn't work for you, like gluten, you get some microorganisms. One of them is the Candida fungus. The Candida fungus is it's very common. We have this in our gut, in our intestines, and it's common. But the problem is sometimes it grows so much and it takes the wall of the intestine, and then it starts chronic inflammation. And why it happens? Normally it happens from, again, allergic foods. And I can tell you that one of these allergies is the sugar. Because sugar and lactose, sugar is very acidic, so it's promote that those microorganisms, like fungus, they grow in our stomach. One another is the bacteria, one called oligobacteria. It's very common that we have this bacteria, and it's also a complication that can lead for those immunodepressive systems. So you can get immunodiseases like fibromyalgia. So I would tell you, if you have yeast in your body, if you have fungus, microbacteria, you should really, really, really avoid gluten, sugar, and lactose. Well, it's not the same for everybody, you know. What works for one person cannot work for another. So I would tell you to avoid those foods at least for 6 weeks. You cut completely, especially in the case of the gluten, because the gluten, if you eat a small, you know, if you eat a small part of gluten, even that it's insignificant, but it can lead for autoimmune disease. So you take those foods for your everyday life, and then you start to put, then you see how your body reacts. But anyway, sugar, lactose, and gluten, they are poisons. So nobody should eat them. But I can tell you, who has fibromyalgia usually has more intolerance for that kind of food. Another thing is the contamination with heavy metal. Mercury is very common heavy metal that we have in our body, you know, especially who eats these big fishes like tuna. We know that they are treated with mercury. But also cosmetic treatments can be used others heavy metals. I have experienced that I got intoxication with silver by using medicine for skin, for acne, and also for even the treatment for water that I had used for a long time. It has silver, and then I got this intoxication. And the intoxication from heavy metals can be the reason for the fibromyalgia. Not just the fibromyalgia, but the fibromyalgia plus other autoimmune disease. So my advice is that you clean up your stomach. How you clean up your stomach? By detoxing. You should do at least 3 days just fast juicing and smooth. You should check it out in laboratory if you have those bacteria, those microorganisms like Candida and the oligobacteria and this yeast. Then if you have this, then you need the proper treatment. I have used myself antibiotics for that purpose as well. Then when you solve that problems, you clean up your stomach, then you need to give you the nutrients that probably you are missing. Because we know that people that has fibromyalgia, they have low level of vitamin D, vitamin B, especially the vitamin B12, and the magnesium. So I would tell you that make this supplementation. In my home country, there is some doctors that they are treating those diseases with a high dose of vitamin D, for example. And we know there is some doctors that treat fibromyalgia just with magnesium. So take those supplements is very important. But I also would say to you, first clean up your stomach, kill all those microorganisms, then you start to really eat real fruit, real food, organic ones, and then make the supplementation. Detox your body, take away the heavy metals, and especially in the case if you have fibromyalgia, you should avoid sugar. Sugar is highly inflamed food, and that if you have the pains, you really will get better when you avoid this inflamed food. I would tell you that if you have those microorganisms and if you have fibromyalgia, you should also avoid some foods that is in general health for other people but might be not for you. For example, potatoes, tomatoes, and some beet, some fruits that promote inflammation. So you should avoid those foods as well, especially sugar. And fruits are very important to you, and I'm not saying that you should avoid fruit, but you should avoid sugar, because the question about fruit is if you eat fruit with the fiber, it's the fruit itself, it's very good. But if you take this processed juice, they have the fiber, so they have the sugar without the fiber, then it's very much inflammatory as well. So after clean up your stomach, you should give yourself the right nutrition. The magnesium brings to your body magnesium and vitamin B, the oxygen that the muscles, because one of the symptoms is that the muscles for who has fibromyalgia is very short, so each movement you try to do makes everything painful. So to have the supplementation with those vitamins will help you a lot. So if your doctor didn't tell you that the cause of your fibromyalgia might be the allergy for some foods, and especially nowadays we have over sugar, lactose, and gluten diet, so you should avoid it. Clean up your body from heavy metals and toxins and chemical things is a good thing if you want to have general health. And I would tell you that if you have especially these immunodepressive systems, if you have hypothyroid problems, usually who has fibromyalgia has also thyroid problems. If you have depression, if you have other disease, my worry is that if you don't know this and you continuing eating these foods that's not good for you, because for each person it's different. So if that's not good for you, you promote those things in your life, and it can lead for other disease. I'm not proud to say, but I have developed lupus, I have developed other disease that it's come from this immunodepressive system because I didn't know that. So now I'm pleased to tell you what your doctor didn't tell you, because he or she just doesn't know. Health and peace for you.